Today I'm going to discuss the difference between doing something yourself for your own business and hiring someone to do it for you. So there are obviously different good points and bad points to both sides. For example, if you're going to do it yourself, there's not going to be a cost and you're not going to have to hire anyone or even pay anyone. Furthermore, there's going to be less risk that someone is trying to take advantage of you and scam you. So it's also a good thing in that sense to do the service yourself. So, for example, if you're a business and you want a website, then you can just learn how to make a website yourself. It's not that difficult. You can just pay for hosting and then go onto a YouTube tutorial and do it yourself. There is a bit of a drawback to this though, and that's because of the fact that you would have to take time out of conducting your own profession to learn part of another profession, and that's not really essentially prioritizing what you're capable of, and it's splitting your efforts into multiple parts. Because of that, I do believe it's the better option to hire someone else to do, for example, that website, because that's their area of expertise. And then when you're also working in your area of expertise to your absolute fullest without dividing your attention, then the company and the brand as a whole are just going to grow considerably compared to if you were splitting your own efforts and you weren't delegating any of the responsibility to anyone. Now I'll talk about maybe the benefits of the hiring someone. So again, you can take advantage of their expertise. You can also build and form a lasting relationship with that person because you are their client, and if you want, you could hire them again in the future, which would be a good option if you needed some more services from them. For example, website maintenance in this case, you would want them to do a bit of maintenance every month and then you pay them for the month, and that would be good because you don't have to go scouting out every single month a different person, because you can just use the same person because they're reliable and they've already proved that they can handle what tasks you have, and you've already set what kind of expectations a person like you has, and so they know more how to work with you and satisfy your needs. So I think that just hiring one person and building that loyalty and trust is a good way to take advantage of hiring someone as a whole, and it's much easier than trying to do everything yourself, conducting your own ads. Unless you've already hired people in other areas, then it's not too bad. But again, organizing and management, as the company gets bigger, it is demanding. We all know it's demanding because there are lots of things to handle and fees to pay. There's a lot of different responsibilities that you are completely responsible for. People are relying on you. People are relying on you to pay them, and people are relying on you to sketch out the future of the company yourself. So try not to divide your own time up too much when it comes to setting up digital marketing, because there are people you can just simply hire and it won't be that much financial loss to the business, because they're digital marketers generally bring in more than they cost anyway. That's why the net profit is positive, because the expense is below what the income is from digital marketing. And speaking in terms of like hiring someone again, you need to make your expectations clear, because that's one of the main parts of delegation. Make your expectations fully clear and it was discussed in the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, about delegating. They're basically the same principles as thinking win-win in general, and it's like setting clear expectations and then outlining what's going to happen if X is performed, and what's going to happen if Y is performed, and what's going to happen if they're not performed. So you just set them in advance so the person can clearly expect how you're going to react to something. If you if the person doing the job then kind of doesn't perform to the best, then they'd probably uh, expectations will then be set to draft up any redos or re-performances of the job, and that way it'll just be expected. It won't be a surprise to the person working, and if this is done over and over again, then eventually the expectations, the time for discussing it is just going to be reduced more and more, and it's just going to be more efficient, and you won't have to keep outlining what you expect to a different person each time if you stay with the same person, because you're being loyal while they're being loyal to you. And that's one of the best effects of just hiring someone. It's just the person again is just going to be more inclined to work with you again as well, because people do prefer familiarity over going into new unexplored territory. The whole point of hiring someone though is that you need to get them to trust you at first, and that's kind of what I was saying was the hard part about hiring someone again and again. You have to build up that trust at first, and you need to invest a lot in building up trust. And this goes as well for the person being hired, especially because they're the ones that are getting paid. So both parties need to establish trust, and if that trust is established very well in the beginning, then that's a good thing, because then they're not gonna have to hire another person because they don't trust this sketchy person who's being hired for the job. So it really depends on what your needs are, the size of the business. I mean, I'm not hiring anyone yet because um, our business just isn't that size yet, but when it is, then we will likely consider hiring people. So really it is just specific to what you need for and the size of your company and your standpoint there. So make sure to just consider this and see whether you can do it yourself, whether you have the time, resources, capacity, or money for it, or whether you can just hire someone for it instead.